All right, we are joined by two of professional wrestling's best and brightest, and they are right here from the Carolinas. I want to take a minute to introduce you to FTR. It's Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood. First of all, guys, thanks for taking some time and joining us. How are you today?
Yeah, not too bad. Definitely the best. I don't know about the brightest. This has never been called the brightest, but the best for sure.
In ring, we got the highest IQ. So our in-ring IQ is second to none.
I think you guys are selling yourself short there. First of all, I know we have a big event coming up here in the upstate of South Carolina. Wanted to give you guys an opportunity to talk about that because, it's against one of the all-time great tag teams in the Rock and Roll Express. It's going to be Saturday, January 22nd at the Spartanburg Memorial Auditorium in Spartanburg. You guys aren't that old, so I imagine you guys were kids when the Rock and Roll Express was going there. How did this all come about, and what does it mean to you personally? And Cash, we'll start with you.
So this is something that Dax and I we wanted for a long time, and it wasn't possible for a couple of years when we were with WWE, and then once we left there and went to AEW, we knew that it was on the table, but dealing with the pandemic made it very hard to get things done. And so we just tried to find any way we could to make it happen. And finally, we had the right opportunity on the right date with the right offer. And we asked, and Tony graciously said, yeah, that works for us. You guys go have fun. So that's something we've been wanting to do for a while, just a bucket list thing for us as fans and as professionals, wanting to say we've done so much, from the bottom to the top. We've gotten to work with some of the very best from every generation. So it's going to be really, really fun for us.
Yeah, the Rock and Roll Express is considered to be one of, if not the greatest tag team of all time. And now Cash and myself as FTR, we're kind of building our own legacy. And, humbly, I guess, maybe not so humbly, we are considered to be one of the greatest tag teams of all time, definitely the greatest tag team of this generation. So you've got one generation from the 80s that we watched growing up against this generation, the two greatest tag teams of a generation, and the first time ever they're going to collide. And, those guys have had their moment in the sun, and right now it's time for us to get our tan. And so, to have those, and they are 60, they're 65 years old. They're in the twilight of their career, but I can never undersell their grittiness and their toughness. So we're super excited to be able to give them one last great match, because that's what FTR does, is we give great matches.
Well, I do, forgive me for wanting to play along here a little bit, but let's pretend you're in the middle of the ring. And what matters more, vast experience or youth?
I think they go hand in hand, but don't undersell us. I've been at this for 17 straight years without a day off. Professional wrestling is something that I've studied since I was, basically out of the womb. So this is, I'm not a spring chicken, myself. Those guys have a lot of studying to do. And when this match was first made, I told Ricky and Robert, I said, nobody knows the Rock and Roll Express better than I know the Rock and Roll Express. Not even then. So yeah, maybe they got a few years on us, but as far as technique, in-ring ability, grittiness, intensity, there ain't nobody that's close to myself and Cash.
Yeah, I think the thing that makes us more dangerous is the fact that we've taken bits and pieces from that generation and everything that we love about it, but we put a modern spin on it, something that they're not going to be able to keep up with, because right now, 2022, we're in our prime. We're untouchable as far as tag team wrestling goes, or just wrestling in general. And so the fact that we are in our prime and that we've taken everything that they've done, but we've improved it, we're unstoppable.
When you guys, you're both from the Carolinas, when you wrestle in this area, does it mean more to you? Can you tell that you're closer to home when you're in even just the Southeast, but more specifically the Carolinas?
Yeah, that's something that's always near and dear to our hearts, just because that's also what we grew up watching. So not only is it home, but it's what inspired us to chase this to begin with. So we get to go back and we get to relive maybe not relive, but we get to pay homage to some of these things that have happened. Like in Greensboro, we got to step in the ring with Sting, who obviously Greensboro and Sting they've had some synonymous memories together, like '88 and everything he's done. Like, so for us to go to the Carolinas and get to be part of history, that's always cool for us, whether it's home or not.
I think, and also the fans of the Carolinas are unlike any other fans in the world. They appreciate the sport of professional wrestling. They appreciate the athleticism of professional wrestling. You know, and they go in there to have fun, and it's a family. It's always a family-oriented event. So the fans there are diehard fans, and regardless of Cash and myself are every Wednesday night on national television, if we're doing some dirty things, some dastardly things, the Carolinas still decide to cheer us. So that's something we hold dear to our hearts.
Forgive me for being a novice here, but you guys have worked for a bunch of different promotions at this point. You know, you're in the AEW right now, which is kind of the hot new thing going on in professional wrestling. But that's not the promotion you'll be wrestling on in Spartanburg. How does that work? How do you go back and forth? It's almost like a guest starring role in a different promotion. That's
one of the great things about working for Tony Khan is AEW is home. That is where we're signed. And like I said earlier, he gave us permission to do this because it's something that he knows was close to our hearts and something we wanted to do. And so even though he doesn't have to do it, and we're not gonna raise hell if he doesn't let us do it because of the fact that we are signed to his company and he is the boss. But that's one of the things about him is he's cool. Like he's a fan himself, so he understands the importance of this to us. And so he said, yeah, you guys go ahead and do it. Like it doesn't conflict with any AEW dates. So have fun.
Yeah, I think ultimately what separates us, and I mean us as an AEW, apart from any other promotion, is that our owner is a fan and he loves it. He loves professional wrestling, and maybe more than anybody else I know besides myself, of course. But when we came to him with this proposal, we told him the Rock and Roll Express was on our bucket list. They are considered the greatest, the greatest tag team of all time, and they've been teaming together for 40 years. And Cash and myself,
that longevity is real.
Yeah. And we want to write our own legacy too. And we want to be the only tag team that can say they faced the greatest from every single generation. I mean, we've wrestled, as of January the 22nd, we have wrestled the Rock and Roll Express. We've wrestled the Hardy Boys. We've wrestled the Young Bucks, and we're everyone else in between. And we're the only tag team to do that. And that means a lot to us personally.
I'm curious, how this dream became reality for you guys. There are a lot of kids, including myself, that dreamt about being a pro wrestler. There's a lot of work, a lot of luck that goes into that. And the fact that you guys are both from our backyard certainly makes it a little more compelling to our audience. Cash, you're from the Asheville area, from Old Fort, and Dax, you're from Kill Devil Hills, which I'm not familiar with in North Carolina. But if you could just expound upon how this started and where you guys kind of got your foot in the door for folks watching that, maybe want to follow your footsteps one day.
So for me, like you said, I'm from Old Fort, which is right outside of Asheville, very small town. I think when they did the census last, it was like population of 800 in city limits. So it's a blip on the map. And I would read every wrestling magazine I could get my hands on. We could never really afford them, but I would go to the grocery store. My mom shopped, and I would just sit there and read cover to cover while she was doing her thing. And I would see the promotions that were closest to me and like things that I could possibly get to when I was old enough to travel. And one of those things, which is one of the main reasons I'm friends with Brett here, is NWA Wildside / NWA Anarchy. They were a promotion about 2 hours from Asheville, and they had a lot of buzz about them. Guys like AJ Styles passed through. He started there, and then you had Jimmy Rave. You had so many guys that went on to do national TV things that I was like, okay, maybe I get my foot in the door there. Eventually, I was able to, and I learned so much there, and that helped me kind of get everything rolling. And from that point forward, it was just kind of right place, right time, knowing the right people, and just doing the right things when you could. And it worked out so good for me. And then happened to meet Dax over here, and that from that point forward, everything just kind of clicked.
Yeah, I think ultimately for the both of us, the key word is persistence. Because if you look at us, you know, a couple of 5'10" Southern North Carolinians who don't have the Hulk Hogan or Lex Luger type bodies, so we had everything going against us. I don't know. There you go. That's a but we had everything going against us, and we still made it happen because we worked harder than anybody else in the room. And for me, being a professional wrestler was all I've ever wanted to do. I've said it many times before. 1993, I watched the King of the Ring pay-per-view and watched Bret Hart have 3 incredible wrestling matches. And I told my mom, that's what I want to do for a living. So I went from being wanting to be a Power Ranger to a professional wrestler, and that's it. And I promised, you know, my dad that I would finish college. And unfortunately, my mom and my dad both lost their jobs at the same time when the economy wasn't so great. So I had to find 3 jobs to pay for my own college at UNCW, finished college while wrestling, and met the girl of my dreams, who is my beautiful, perfect wife right now. And then met the boy of my dreams, my tag team partner, Cash Wheeler. And we became the greatest tag team of all time. And it's all due to persistence.
Dax, who do you know more about, your wife or your tag team partner?
Oh my God, man, that is a great question.
He'll say that, but he's the best husband I've ever met, as far as like just people I know throughout my life. Like, he's the ultimate family man. That guy goes above and beyond for his wife and his daughters. So as good as he is to me as a road wife, she's got it way better.
I will say, yeah, I probably know her a little bit better. We do have a kid together, so. But there was a time in our life whenever there's about a 5-year span where I was with Cash way more than I was with my wife, and she put up with that, and she put up with me, and she put up with professional wrestling and never once complained. So I have her, I have him, I have professional wrestling, and I'm sitting in my log cabin here in Saluda, North Carolina, and I have the best life in the world.
You know, first of all, you spoke to my heart there with the Bret Hart reference. It's no mistake. I am wearing pink and black today for this interview.
Oh, baby.
I am curious, though. You know, you mentioned persistence there, and when you actually delve into the nitty-gritty of what pro wrestling takes out of each individual wrestler, just to make it day to day, it is quite the grind. And it's, you know, it is a profession that is not for the soft-minded. So I'm curious, what was your, for lack of a better term, oh my goodness moment? And when did it click that this is something I could do for the rest of my life? I actually think I could make this.
Man, I don't know.
Yeah. I think for me, man, I always believed in my abilities, and I always believed that I had the talent. I mean, and again, that sounds very egotistical, but I did. I believed in myself, and I believed in my abilities. But again, I knew my limitations as far as my stature, the body that I'm carrying, and the accent that I'm carrying too. So come the end of 2011, I decided to ask the end of 2010, I decided to ask my wife to marry me. We set a date, and I was going to quit professional wrestling and use my degree and get a job and start a family. And as soon as that happened, all the doors that opened and closed for me, they started coming around. And I got the call from WWE, and it all just fell into place from there.
Yeah, man, I've had a couple of wow moments, but I think the one where I don't think I ever really doubted that I had what it took to be a wrestler, but I doubted that I'd ever get the chance to show that where I wanted to. So while I always believed that I had what it took, at a certain point, you know, I was like, man, I've got to start being a mature adult here. I can't keep barely scraping by. I can't keep not having anything to show for it. Like, for as much as I loved it and as much fun as I had, like, I needed to grow up. So I think my main wow, like, I really can do this for a living full time, was when I finally got done with the tryout for WWE. Like, I had like a bunch of family stuff that happened, and then I got the email saying, like, we're going to offer you the contract. And I was just, like, everything changed.
To be fair, I guess my wow moment was we had an extra spot together, and we had our first ever match, our only match we've ever had.
Yeah.
They just put both of us in the ring. They said, keep going until we tell you to stop. We ended up going almost 20 minutes, and that was the moment that, we got it. It's easy. And they fell in love with us then. Easy for me to say.
Well, you guys have really had quite the road. You made your debut in AEW in May of 2020. It's certainly grown leaps and bounds since then, but was even a big deal at that point. You guys have been in matches with guys like Sting, and you mentioned the Rock and Roll Express. That there's so many different big names. You're of course part of your unit right now is Tully Blanchard, who a lot of old wrestling fans will know from the Four Horsemen. Have you had a wow moment from somebody you've met? Who is the person that has starstruck you the most throughout your time in pro wrestling?
For me, it's absolutely Bret Hart. For me, I mean, I was even thinking this yesterday. I talked to my wife. I watched Bret Hart and Jim Neidhart against Arn and Tully from SummerSlam 1989, maybe my favorite tag match of all time. And I was talking to my wife, and I said, I've never asked Bret what he thought of this match. And the crazy thing is, I could pick my phone up right now and send him a text and ask him, my hero, the man who has meant so much to my life. I can send him a text and say, hey, what did you think of this match? And he would respond immediately. He also have a picture too that it makes me very, very emotional when I see it. Cash and I are kneeling down right beside Bret, and he's giving us some advice, and his daughter actually snuck the picture. And it's very candid. And that one, every time I look at it, gets me emotional. So for me, I've met Michael Jordan. I've met so many actors coming to the backstage. None of them mean a damn thing to me. Bret Hart is the one person that has made me speechless.
Yeah, I mean the Bret stuff, like, because Bret's meant a lot for both of us. Dax is die hard for him, so I mean but I think Bret's up there for me. That I say that the top three would be getting to sit with Bret, to talk with Bret, to have him, want to have us come sit down and talk to him so he could give us ideas. That was a moment for me that was really cool. Being like on Stone Cold's podcast or having him talk about us, like meeting him was really cool because he was obviously the biggest star like that's ever been in wrestling as far as just moving the needle and selling merchandise. So for him to be like a fan and to reach out and want us on his podcast and to just kind of, talk back and forth regularly was mind blowing for me. And then getting to share the ring with Sting, CM Punk, Darby, those kind of moments for me, it's just like, how did I get this lucky? How did I get here? Like, this is standing in the ring and main event in Greensboro and about to have some of the most fun I've ever had in my life. And I'm going to get paid for it, suckers.
Right before that match, we thought about that. We were like, man, we're about to go into a match with Sting and CM Punk, two of the biggest stars in professional wrestling history, in Greensboro, North Carolina, in front of 12,000 fans. And we said we could only dream of this in a video game. That was it. And we're living it. And it was pretty cool.
And that just happened in December of 2021. So it's still pretty fresh in your minds.
Yeah.
Dax, you mentioned you guys have been in this for a little while. I'm curious what your thought is of where the actual profession is going. You think about in the 80s and 90s, it was kind of, you had your ground and pound wrestlers, you had the high flyers and that kind of deal. And then everything kind of went extreme as ECW became more popular. And of course the Attitude Era and all that. And the athleticism certainly has continued to be of the utmost importance. Guys are performing in different ways, but they seem to really have focused in on the safety factor, which was not the case about 20 years ago. So I'm curious where your minds are in terms of where it started from, where it's ended up. Is the performance in the ring valued as much as the mic work, and how has it changed over the last couple decades? And Dax, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think just like any other sport, football, basketball, everything has evolved. And professional wrestling is no different from that. A lot of people have their own assumptions of what professional wrestling is, and that's great, and that's okay, and that's cool. But as far as just speaking of me, man, there's I've had 2 knee surgeries on my right knee, a knee surgery on my left knee. I've had a bicep tear repaired. My left bicep is currently torn right now. We both have torn labrums. So it takes a toll on your body, but you're exactly right, man. They make sure today in 2022 that their investment, which is our bodies, are taken care of more than their television show is on a week-to-week basis. And that's makes me thankful because on Wednesday night, if I go into Dynamite on TBS and I get hurt in the ring, I know for a fact that I'm still able to provide for my wife and my daughter because these guys are class act, and the contract that we sign is just that. It's a contract, and they'll make sure to take care of us because they want us to be safe. And so, obviously, Cash and I get compared to a lot of the 80s and early 90s wrestling. That's what we enjoy, and that's what we like, and that's what we love. And that's what makes us a little different from today's wrestlers. Today's wrestlers are more athletic than they've ever been. And that's something that I can't keep up with. But one thing I can keep up with is my technique. I can keep up with you on the mic if I have to. And if you want to fight, I can throw fists better than anybody else besides maybe Cash. He's a bad boy. But I think that's what makes us different, man. I think professional wrestling from 2022 and on is going to continue to change, and I think it's going to continue to change for the better.
Yeah. Just to expound on that a little bit, like as far as the health and safety part of it, I think it's safer and healthier than it's ever been because we've gotten past the points where the company doesn't take care of you. They don't check up on you. They don't make sure that everything's in order. We get blood work done every couple of months. We get physicals every couple of months. We get checked up on, and it's mandatory, to make sure that everybody's healthy. And then on top of that, they offer any resource you could ever need, as far as just mental health. They offer, if you reach out and say, hey, I'm just having a hard time, bam, somebody gets back to you and they give you some sort of help or contact information, and it's free of charge for the people that need it. If you get injured, like Dak said, we both, I've had the cut to the arm, we have torn labrums, I've had my jaw wired shut. In the company, they take care of that, and they take care of the rehab, and you get paid every week. So you're not trying to force yourself back early and making it worse because you're not getting paid. They make sure that we have everything in place now, that we're not hurting ourselves or being our own worst enemies because we don't have to be. And I think that's been the biggest and best change for the company, or not for the company, but for the business as a whole, is not letting us be our own worst enemies, not letting us kill ourselves either behind the scenes or in the ring. And then I think as far as where wrestling's going in ring and entertainment wise, right now it's the hottest it's been in 2 decades probably. And I think that's because there's such a variety of stuff out there, and everybody's kind of, like you said, there's been extremes, there's been ones or the others, there's been a lot opposite ends of the spectrum. And I think now we've got something for everybody. We're all figuring out it is a show for not just me, not just you, not just him. We have to have something that everybody enjoys. And I think now more than ever, we have people that understand that and can provide that. And AEW, for example, you have a tag team like me and Dax, who are a throwback. You have a tag team like the Young Bucks, who are the flashy, flippy, flying tassels and everything. You have Orange Cassidy, you have Pac, you have so many guys that can do everything from you name it, and everybody's well-rounded now. There's not holes in everybody's games. And I think that is why wrestling is cool again, because it's not just relying on flips, it's not just relying on explosions, not just entertainment. It's everything, and it's cool and it's fun. You can watch the show and it's nothing's going to be quite the same.
Well, I do think that's a pretty good summation of it. I think that, it has evolved to the point now where wherever, your niche is, it'll be taken care of if you kind of pay attention to the entire show. I got 2 more questions for you. Do you guys want the sentimental or the funny one first?
Let's get the funny.
The funny.
Yeah, let's go.
Maybe not funny, but fun. Let's pretend that Ricky and Robert are standing across the ring from you right now, and you need to tell them something to get them ready for what's going to happen on Saturday, January 22nd at the Spartanburg Memorial Auditorium. A match a long time coming. Cash, this is your chance. What do you want to say to them?
No Canadian destroyers.
I'll tell them that they've never ever stepped in the ring with a machine like FTR. There's never been a tag team. There's never been a pair of wrestlers that work like myself and Cash do. And we're going to blow you up, and we're going to make sure you're sucking wind, because I want to make sure that you're the Ricky and Robert that I remember from 1986. And I want you to know that the Midnight Express don't compare to FTR, and they never could. So, you know, if Ricky and Robert think that we're going to take it easy because they are in the twilight of their career, I think they got another thing coming. And I think they know that, too, in the back of their mind, because I've seen Ricky and I've seen his Instagram posts, and I know that he's training, getting his body ready. But all the training in the world's not going to help you when you step in the ring with FTR, because, like I said, there's not a machine that's as well-oiled as Cash and myself.
If that doesn't make you want to buy a ticket, I'm not sure what could. That's some pretty impactful stuff there. Again, that match set for January 22nd, 2021 at the Spartanburg Memorial Auditorium. January 22nd, I should say, in 2022. Yeah, got it.
A lot of twos. A lot of twos.
You're welcome. I do want to ask you guys, you know, I mentioned the long road that it's taken you guys to get here. There is likely somebody watching this from the Carolinas whose shoes or whose seat you were in 20, 25 years ago. What would you say to that person that is watching, a kid that wants to get into professional wrestling, not just a dream, something that they want to make into a reality? If they could get advice from guys who've made it, what would you tell them? Dax, I'll start with you, please.
Yeah, man. I would tell any kid in the world, whether it's professional wrestling or whatever you want to do, if you work hard enough, you'll make something of it. You may not reach what you want to reach, but you'll make something of it. But in professional wrestling, if someone like myself, who doesn't have a hair on the top of his head, again, scratching the surface at 5'10", if I can make it and be a main event and professional wrestling for AEW, if I can also be on WrestleMania for WWE, then there's absolutely nothing in this world that you can't do. So if I can make it, you can absolutely.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo that for the most part. Like if it's something you really want and you think that it's your calling in life, then go all for it. Don't go halfway, I guess I should say. I don't know if I should say that. Don't go halfway. Don't question yourself at every turn, and don't try to rush the journey. Enjoy it. Like, you know, we joke about how long it took us to get where we are, but you know, it's like overnight success, a decade in the making. There's a lot that you don't see until we finally get that one chance. But if you get that chance and you know you're ready and you've put the work in leading up to that, it doesn't matter where you're from, doesn't matter how tall you are. Legit, 5'9", never had an ab in my life, didn't graduate high school, had to go get my GED. We were as poor as you could possibly be growing up. And I thought that if I didn't have that sort of money where I couldn't even pay for wrestling school, like I just found a way. I never went to wrestling school. I just learned myself, and I read, I studied, I listened, I watched. And then when it was my time, I was ready for it, and I made the most out of it. And if we can do it, I mean, if FTR can be the greatest tag team in the world, then somebody else from Old Fort can at least be half of that.
And if you're looking,
and if you know in your heart what you're doing is right, don't listen to anybody else.
There you go.
I had a lot of people that laughed at me along the way that asked me for tickets every time we're in the area now. And that's not being funny. That's legit. No matter how many times they laughed at me because I didn't make money for years, now we're in the area. Can you get me tickets at will call? So just keep at it. One of those days, the people that laugh at you will be the people that you don't have to reply to.
And, you know, that's, I'm sure you get a little bit of gratification every time you get to deny somebody tickets that maybe poke fun along the way. All right. If you are a young wrestling fan in the Carolinas, looking for a new tag team to root for, perhaps FTR is right up your alley. Guys from your backyard who made it. You can see them on AEW every single week. And again, one more time, if you're in the Upstate, going to be around the Upstate, you can watch them battle the legendary Rock and Roll Express, battles the legendary FTR on January 22nd at the Spartanburg Memorial Auditorium. Guys, we certainly appreciate all the time that you've given us. It's certainly appreciate the insight as well. For an old wrestling fan like myself, it's quite the treat. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you, man. Keep the tie.
Yeah, I like it. Thanks for having the A team on.
All right, guys, take care.